this is my first teach on English language and on DNN-Connect, so I believe it will be interesting at least. So, okay, so plan is to show you one real-life example, something that we did last year that was hard enough to talk about, and so it is nothing theoretical or from lab, but real-life experience. So let's start. So thanks to our sponsors that makes this possible. Okay. Today I will show you some experience that we have with Chang'an client. I don't know, do you heard about it? It is a large automotive company from China that is pretty aggressively coming to Europe. And we got opportunity to work with them. Actually, that was based on some past experience we got with Mazda, and because Mazda is working together with Chang'an, they open us a window to do this project. So I'm in development since last 30 years in web development, mostly on Microsoft platform, working with DNN from early days. The most exciting part of my work is actually be part of Too Sexy core development team. It is my daily driver and things that really keeps me occupied and interesting and so on. And all this is kind of part also of that story in some way. I am head of development and partner at the company Sistemi HR, or full name is Net Media Sistemi. They are also on market since '96, so 30 years working more or less the same stuff with DNN and so on. So many projects done with DNN and using Microsoft technologies and so on. So yeah. Okay, so let's talk about situation that we have. Our client Chang'an required that we set up and maintain a solution for web presentation, web marketing of their cars or products for all markets in Europe. Currently we are on, I believe, 13 markets or something like that. Of course, we choose DNN and Microsoft all the way. Requirement was that it must be a Webfarm, and of course that shouldn't be issue as it is. One interesting thing on this implementation is actually that we had to do it on Alibaba Cloud. So that was our first experience with Alibaba Cloud, and it is a little different one comparing to Amazon or Microsoft Cloud, since documentation is first created on Chinese language, and then they are sometimes translated something to English language. So actually you have to rely a lot on Google Translate and all other things that you have under your hands to understand what's going on. So here you can see that we have two nodes. So it is normal Windows IS configuration. Okay, here is, and that part is kind of under control of our company system administrators and our developers. And almost everything else in this story is controlled by some other companies, Chinese guys, their sister administrators and so on. So usually it was not only hard to technically explain what we need to be configured or set up in a proper way. We also had that language barrier and also some cultural differences that we have to understand to really make project working. And it was, it was a separate, completely separate story from technical part. So what we have here in front of, so in the beginning we have some visitors, of course, that are normal, some users that would like to know more about chunk and cars. But that is only part of the story. We have also a lot of bots that are visiting those sites, so we have to take care of that. And there are some special considerations that have to be done when you have campaigns, because that put additional pressure and special treatment that need to be to take care, and I will show you that till the end of the presentation. From the side, first thing is of course CDN, and idea is as much as possible should be cached on CDN, and everyone could try to do it with DNN know that it's not everything is working from the default, so you need to do some overrides or some customization in that part. And in parallel also was this web application firewall. That is also important thing because you have to monitor those since all the time someone is trying to hack in your site and do some bad things, so you have to be on the top of that. And that is not easy if you are not controlling this part of infrastructure, because first line was of course some other administrator that is somewhere in China, and it was providing information to us. After CDN we have a load balancer. Load balancer, of course, is taking responsibility to distribute load to nodes. And for DNN and for Windows ASP.NET application, usually the most common way and thing that you need to take care of is to preserve that when visitor come to some node, that when he is going back again to that site, that you forward that one to the same node. And that is done using something called sticky sessions. So this load balancer is kind of adding some cookies to each request. So based on that cookie, it will forward always that same visitor to the same node. And that is important because on Windows side, on ASP.NET side, we can have some state that lives on server for security reason, for state reason, and if you forward that visitor to other node, that things will miss, and actually probably it will not work everything as you expect. So that is kind of hard requirement that you have to take care of, or you have much more work to be done on some other parts, of course, that is not best way to do it. That is one thing. Another thing is, of course, to distribute that balance equally, so that not all visitor goes to one node, while other node is not working at all. Here we have also one special situation. On those sites, we have a lot of administration or content maintenance that happens all the time. So each day, every day, almost on each portal, is trying to administrate something. And if you leave those administrators to do it on both nodes, you can have some really hard problems to solve. Because not everything is work as we expect in DNN and as is usual when you are working with DNN. So to contain that situation, actually, we decide that all administrators should go to node 2, and they will have special treatment there. And that means that node 1 will be kind of read-only for visitors or for everyone else. And so that is also a suggestion that probably it is good to configure in the beginning if you're trying to set up web farms, that you always have some nodes specially only for administrator. So that they are, so it is much easier for you to debug things and follow what's going on. Whole idea is actually how traffic is becoming bigger and how you decide getting more visitors, that you can add more nodes, and that should be very, very simple. It is just setup and configuration thing, and there is no need for team to do any special work when you add new nodes. In the past, we have some other clients where we have situation with 10 nodes, and everything was working as expected, so that is easy. On the right side, below the nodes, of course, we have SQL Server. That SQL Server is usually not scalable in a way like web nodes, so you actually cannot easily add more SQL servers if you need that. And usual strategy there is that you need to have a really big SQL server, one that can take care of all nodes. That is the easiest thing to do, and usually you are trying to do that always as possible, or you have to need, or you need to go in a more complicated configuration of whole infrastructure that is not easy to be done. From past experience, we were always lucky enough to have a SQL server that was capable to handle all load, even in those situations when we had 10 nodes. On SQL Server side, sometimes we had failover SQL servers. In the case that main one is not working, second one will take care of all traffic and everything continues as usual. And that was for SQL side. Other part is file system. Here we have this NAT, so network attached file system. For those nodes, actually, it is important that all nodes or all web servers serve the same files. That is the most easier situation to handle. So we have one shared directory, and each node is actually looking in it and getting those files when necessary. Important thing there is actually that file system should be fast enough. So you actually cannot use the cheapest thing, the slowest thing, because it will not be good enough in production. So usually you need to measure and find something that is like fast enough, that is capable to handle all load that will happen there. And when you are adding more nodes to the same share, of course, you are getting more network connection to same infrastructure, and that just a number of those connections could be separate issue that you need sometimes to take care of. Similar situation could be also on SQL side, because you can always come to a situation when you reach the maximum number of SQL connections that is by default, I don't know, 100 or something like that, and then you need to take care, so you need to increase it and so on, and you can do it up till some amount that is possible. And it is always trade-off. If you increase those numbers, then you lose somewhere else, so it is not something that you will do by default if you do not need. And third thing here is Redis server. Since those web farms were using DNN-Redis caching provider, so it is open source caching provider done probably 10 years ago by Mr. Rodriguez. And yeah, that was really nice of him that he did it, and we use it a lot. And for Redis part, actually, we never had any issues with the Redis, since the single node installation with few CPUs, low amount of RAM was, with proper configuration, was good enough for all loads we have, even in situations when we have those 10 nodes. And since Redis is handling only caching information, or even less than that, it is really not important to store anything that is in Redis and to preserve it, since if you lose that, if you restart everything, you are again in a clean situation. So it is not big deal. You can think about failover in the case that Redis server stop working, and it is easy to do those things, but that never happens to us in many years. So actually, whatever we put in Redis, it was working, and that is that was fantastic. Here, in this case, on Alibaba, we had some special situations, since they were using some upgraded version of Redis. They optimize it in special way to work with hardware they have there, to be very scalable and so on. They have, it has even special name, so it is that thing. But they also changed that name a few times, so I do not know what is the name now, since in English documentation is one, in Chinese other. For us was only important thing that is working. Regarding DNNRedisProvider, so that one is open source, and that one is using some external nuggets to talk with Redis, and to support everything that we need. In this case, we need to upgrade those nuggets so we can increase the security that was a requirement in this case, but that is actually easy thing to do. On DNN Redis caching provider side, we did several upgrades. I will explain some of those. Intention is actually, after we test everything and see what is really good and what's not, we will try to push that to back to community, hopefully to Rodriguez GitHub, if everything is according to plan. And everything that we did in this case, we will make free to everyone. So you can, you will see my email, so you can contact me whenever you need, and I will give you all information and provide you whatever is necessary. And I will also try to push that in open source, so that is available to everyone, so that is easier for next one who come to similar situation. Yeah. Regarding DNN implementation, it is heavy one. So we have DNN installation that has 13 portals. That includes one management portal and 12 markets, so different countries in Europe. and the number of portals are increasing constantly, how they are adding more countries on the market. It has over 1,000 web pages at this moment. And it has 140 content editors or administrators that were working all the time in it. And that is actually a heavy part because we prepare the infrastructure and apps and designs and everything, and now they are using those and creating new pages and constantly adding new content, changing new content, adapting to campaigns. So it is very, very dynamic environment all the time. So it is interesting one. For us, usually we are kind of in control of everything because our clients are used to ask that we do things for them. And this was kind of opposite situation since we were taking responsibility of main architecture and set up technical infrastructure and also all apps and everything. And then we need to educate and distribute that to everyone else who is using that. And in parallel also, we need to rely on other system administrators that are maintaining other systems so that everything is work. And all that, it is not easy to do. It is adding, it slows us actually, but it is way to do it, so you have to do it, and that's it. So. Okay, main issue. So it is something that, this project is in production now almost a year and a half, I believe, something like that. I don't know exact date. Of course, we start earlier with development and so on, so I don't know exactly at what moment it went live. But in the beginning, everything was great, everything was working like expected and so on. And after a few months, we start to noticing that we are getting some strange 404 errors on the site. And it was kind of, yeah, how that could happen. Yeah. And after more looking at that, we seeing that 404 errors were happening on a page that were actually working okay. So we had a page that was published that is working okay, and in one moment it started to returning 404. And yeah, so it is not something that you are expecting to see from DNN or from this infrastructure, and actually something that is not so complicated to be made. So two things very important. One is it happens on page that already exists. So it was working and then it was stopped working. And never happens on home page of site. So we have those 13 portals. Home page was always working. It always happened on some sub page somewhere deeper. And since we have two nodes, it happens only on one node. So while if it happens on node 1, node 2 was totally okay. And so we had to find what's going on and how to fix that. That was harder part. I must say, this issue in the beginning was rare, but how traffic became bigger and bigger, it became more common, and at the end it happens like few times per day on some pages. So it is something that was really serious issue. And yeah, at some moment we really put whole team on it, everyone to try to solve it as to understand it and solve it as fast as possible. Yeah. I must say this is DNN issue. It is not related to DNN-10 or DNN-9. It is something that was even happening with older DNNs like DNN-7 and so on. And but yeah, there are special conditions that are kind of required to be visible like this, and that is Webfarm, and a lot of traffic. So so to understand the whole story, we try to see where we can find more information and how we can track that and to check what is the problem and how to find solution, how to fix it, and so on. So one important thing for us was actually that we, since it could happen on any page on any node except the home page, we need direct access to every page on every node. When you have farm, usually you have some public URL that are used by visitors and that could end on any node. You actually cannot, you do not know upfront where will end except if you are admin. And so we had, let's say, private host names or portal aliases that were pointing just to portal on node 1, and other one that will port onto node 2, and it was like client name, node 1 something, or client name, node 2 something, and from that point on, of course, URL part is the same. So that was one thing. Of course, with these URLs, those private URLs, you have to take care that those were not indexed by Google. You have to take care that those are probably not publicly open, so that you can use them over VPN and things like that. And that could limit some tools that you can use on it, because if you add a VPN, maybe you cannot use some public tool that cannot use that VPN and things like that. But the worst part is if those are indexed by Google and other search engines, because from that point on they are become public, and then you have problem. Other thing is that you have to rely on are IS logs. So web server is storing in log every request and all informations that you that are there, and you can even include more if you need. So with those IS logs, of course, if you have 2 nodes, then you have two logs. And if you have a lot of traffic, those are very, very big, and it is not easy to, it is not something that you can manually review, because it will take forever and it is unmanageable. So you need some way to do it, and we use several tools. One of those is, for instance, good old log parser from Microsoft. It is command line tool where you can query IS logs, like you can query SQL database, and then store results in CSV files or as some graphs or whatever. So we prepared a lot of queries that were querying those logs, so that we can understand what's really going on and what triggered those situations and things like that. And we also automated at some point creation of those things, because solution was not one-step process. we have some ideas based on logs what is not okay, and then we try to apply some fix for that. And after that, we need to monitor the whole situation to see is it fix working as we expected or not, what is different and things like that. So we need to parse those logs many times, so it is important to automate those so you can get good information from those as fast as possible. AI also can help you with that. Other source of information is, of course, DNN. There you have log files on file system. Then you also have admin event logs. You can also have Windows logs, depend on situation. And when you have many log files, one problem is, of course, sometimes you need to compare different log information in those log files. And usually you are trying to do that by timestamp, since you are tracking what happens first, then second, and this is one log or other, and so on. And on IIS, of course, by default, your log is saved in GMT 0 time zone, while DNN logs are stored by default in, of course, depends what your Windows server is configured. For us, it was GMT +2 in summer. Whole infrastructure should be synchronized in a way that time is always correct on every part of that infrastructure. So every server, every part of network equipment should always use the same time server, so that is always the correct time in those logs on microseconds. So if you took logs from different devices, the time is always the same, so you can compare. And when you have many logs, then you, of course, you need to find a way how to process those logs and get a good story from it, so you can understand what's going on and what was the right order of things, and so on. And during debugging phase and fixing phase, we notice that issue is within DNN, and we were missing some information in DNN log. So first thing that every developer is doing when it is trying to fix some bug is, of course, to get a good log all around the code that is probably the reason for that bug. So we need to update DNN logs, even add more logging for some special events there that is not existing in DNN. That is easy to do in DNN since it's open source, so you can add the code and build it and deploy it. We didn't push that to community since it is not prepared in a way that is useful to everyone. But it was very important for us to understand this situation. So yeah, it is also a tool that you can use when you have some problems that are not easy to fix. And after some time, we noticed that somehow in parallel, we created some scripts that were checking the pages. Are they returning 404? At first, it was for development, because we were trying to force those issues in development environment. So in development, we try to set up Webfarm and then put pressure and load on it and monitor what's going on. But whatever we did in development, we actually couldn't reproduce that issue in development, and that was pity. That made whole things harder. Yeah. Probably I should also mention So our usual structure when we are developing project is actually you start with some development environment where usually if you have development team, then every developer have DNN on your computer that is under the Git, so they can pull the latest changes and push what they did if it's okay for everyone else. SQL database for content editor is usually in development environment shared. Only some developers have own SQL database if they are doing some things that are, they can result with breaking, let's say, development environment. That is not something that you would like to have when you have more developers on a project, because if you break main database, no one can work at that moment with DNN. But usually DNN is locally shared. Then we have some staging or test environment. In this case, actually, that was not optimal, since in test environment, or they call it user acceptance test environment, UAT, we didn't have identical situation like we have in production, and we only have one web server that have the latest version of the code that we developed, and that was used that one for testing. Actually, for dev testing, client was using that one to review what we did. So we can progress with the project, but we didn't have a Webfarm there. And so we couldn't reproduce those issues there. And it is, I don't know, limits of the budgets or planning or things like that, since they didn't plan to spend the money on whole infrastructure to be exactly like live one, or at least similar. And that is something that is probably the wrong thing to do. Much better situation is if you really have exactly the same test and production environment, since if you have some issues in production, then you can use the test environment to find what's wrong and fix it there, instead of doing it on production, if that is only place where that things happens. So we created some scripts that were helping us to monitor all pages on site. So for instance, it is this under number 4 check 404 script. It is PowerShell script that will go to every portal, take a site map of that portal, find what are all public pages that are available, and go to every page and see is it returning 404 or not. And it will log if it returns. Since we find that if we restart the DNN site, so that node, or if we clean cache on that node, issue will go away. And that was our first fix for that solution. So first, when we got it, we recycled that node and it went away. But when you have that, I don't know, every few days, and it could happen anytime, it is not optimal way to do it. So we had a script that will, from time to time, go see all pages and recycle those nodes. We even updated DNN in a way to add a hidden endpoint that was secured, so that this script can call it and recycle cache only on that node, since there is not that feature on normal DNN. Of course, that is not solution. That is just first fix that you try apply. This script is used for many different things. One is this kind of first fix. Other is also to create a load in development environment or in production environment and so on. And during the track of few weeks, we updated it many times, so it became very, very useful tool for us to, I don't know, track, control, and etc. together with all those other logs, since these scripts were also do some logging and help us a lot to better understand what's going on and what is really triggering those situations. Very important thing is all other logs that you could actually get from the system. Since this was Alibaba Cloud environment, they have monitoring capabilities, so we get some CPU requests and other logs or dashboards to see there. Issue is actually we couldn't get it every time when we need it in real time, since there were no, it was not under our direct control. But when we needed, they give us permission so we could use it for some amount of time, and then they will revoke those. So it was kind of pain. And because of that, since we have our hosting infrastructure, and there we are using this PRTG monitoring system, it is something that is very common everywhere, especially on Windows. We use it on many other hosting, so we installed the agents also on this server, so we got monitoring that was very important for us, and dashboards and things like that. And without those, it will be very, very hard to track what's going on and fix and so on. So all those logs, all those monitoring is very, very important. More you get, if it's right one, can save you time a lot. And if you do not have right information, you will probably never understand what's going on. So. Okay. So we understand that issue was related to Webfarm, since it never happened without Webfarm. And we also understand, so it must be something, yeah, DNN or Redis or both related. And we understand also that it happens more when those administrators or content editors were adding new pages and things like that. So usually it happens when they add few pages, and then we had some campaign on those pages that put more pressure, and in those moments something go wrong, and suddenly some pages will start to return 404. And in the end, it was visible that it is relating to caching of the routing information within DNN. And so, of course, DNN is using memory cache to reduce the pressure on SQL Server and to preserve the CPU and network connections and everything else. So it is very optimal when you develop code to use the memory cache whenever is possible. So you are trading some memory space for everything else that is more expensive. In case of DNN-Redis caching provider, that is standard memory provider in DNN, default caching, the DNN caching was replaced with something else. DNN-Redis caching provider is doing memory caching in a hybrid way. So everyone is expect that when you have a Redis, that instead of using memory, it will use the Redis as a storage for a cache. But that is only part of the story. Actually, it is doing it in hybrid way. It is still using normal memory. So when code is requesting something from a DNN memory cache, DNN-Redis caching provider will first look in local node and see, is it already have that information there? If it's there, that's great. It will returning back, so it is default thing like with DNN. If it's not there, then it will go to Redis storage and try to find it there. And if it's there, then it will bring it from there and to node. And only if it's not there, then it will fall back to standard situation that DNN will actually recreate that memory in standard way. So go to SQL and build data, objects and everything, store it in cache as part of that process. And by default, DNN-Redis caching provider is trying to store in Redis everything that is stored in DNN memory cache. And that is not optimal, since DNN is, and its caching strategy is not made in a way to be really compatible 100% with Redis. One issue is actually that in C# and in DNN we are working with objects that could be related with other objects, and when you store something to Redis cache, you need to serialize those objects. So it could become JSON or something like that. And you cannot always serialize everything. And you have especially a hard situation when you have objects that are related, since you cannot store only main object. You need to store also those related chars objects, and then things become much more complicated. And in the case of DNN cache, memory cache, actually every developer is just using as a cache storage and put everything there what it thinks it is appropriate. And that means that the same information is probably in that cache stored many times. And that is not the issue within DNN, since it is binary, it is in memory, and if you change something in some child object, it will be directly changed in every place where that object is used, because it is reference to it. It is not really the copy of those informations. And everything works, and there is no issue with that. It is not suboptimal or whatever. But when you try to store those information in Redis, then it becomes suboptimal, because with every cache item, you are actually storing usually same information. Sometimes it is as main cache item, sometimes it is part of some other cache item, and so on. And that is a tricky thing with DNN memory caching. And in those cases, it is possible that when cache is changed, that invalidation do not happen instantly on all cache items, and then you have issue like this 404 thing. To really understand it and fix it, we updated also DNN with some code around the routing code, the routing information and cache part of DNN that was trying to recognize those situations that cause this 404 error. And even we put some self-healing code there. And that was good solution for like 90% of situations, but we had like 10% of situations that was not covered. With those, they need more things to be done. And so learn issue with this, Redis is not a problem, but the problem is actually what you are trying to store in Redis, and is it really a proper thing or not? And because you cannot store everything, and it is not right to store everything. So to fix this issue, we actually find that actually we do not need to store almost anything in Redis storage. Since for Webfarm, it was important that is working. It was important that in memory cache, you can always find the information that should be in memory cache and that it is right one information. And we noticed that sometimes if he's trying to fall back to Redis storage, those information on Redis storage are not up to date, not correct one. And then it is still falling back to generating those informations directly from database and so on. And so we decide actually that we will not store any routing information in Redis. So we updated DNN-Redis caching provider in a way to ignore reading special keys related to routing from Redis. And that helped a lot. That helped a lot because with the Redis, there are actually two things Redis server can do many things. One is store information in Redis. That is very useful if you can store it fast and read it fast. But other thing that you can also use Redis for is actually to use it as event notification system for caching invalidation. And actually the main issue here was, or at least one of the main issues was improper caching invalidation. So, and that caching invalidation is working in a way that there is a Redis channel. When you send a message, please invalidate those cache keys. So when something changes on node 1, it is important that that change happens on node 2. It will not happen because it will be read from memory cache. So node 1 needs a way to tell a node 2 to invalidate that cache key. And because of that, node 2 will see, okay, I do not have those information in memory, so I need to go to database, read it, and build it again. And then you are in good position. And so the most important thing was that all cache invalidation happens really fast, and they are always synchronized across the all nodes. And that is the most important thing with the Redis caching provider. That is working really okay. In phase 2, we decided that we actually will not store anything to Redis storage. We'll just use Redis as a notification system for cache invalidation. And that has huge impact on stability and speed of the whole Webfarm. Because when you are, by default, when you are using DNN caching provider, if you compare the speed of that Webfarm, you will see it is slower than single node solution. And why is slower? Because everything that you put in cache, at some point, it will be serialized and sent to Redis. However fast it is adding to request time. And also, same thing with reading in opposite way when it's not in cache. And so we skipped whole deserialization thing, and it was actually we got a time that is that every node is actually fast as single node farm, so that is practically the fastest as possible. And with the using of those Redis channel only for cache invalidation, we got synchronization of all information on all nodes, and everything was perfectly. And also, this fix last 10% of the problem that we got with 404. Issue was using of that Redis infrastructure of Alibaba. That is huge one, that is very redundant, but it is not fast as, it is web service and it is not fast as, for instance, local Redis server. And that is also the reason why we actually couldn't reproduce the issue locally, because that slowness that was added to request because of using of that Redis service caused actually that 404 happens more. So when we skip the serialization thing, we, I don't know, do you see it here on those diagrams? I will try to, oops. Okay, so for instance, this diagram here on the left side, you can see there is a big graph on CPU, so that CPU is utilized a lot, and at some point in time, it is almost unutilized, it is working nothing. And that happens with Redis. And because of that, everything becomes much faster. And that is also visible on memory usage and total request times and so many things. So what we learn from here is actually you can use the Redis, but there is no need to store any information there. And you can have a perfectly stable farm with it that is fast as a single node web solution, and that is almost perfect. So a fix for this, I will push to open source. That is very valuable thing. So yeah, but it took some time until we decide to put everything there. Okay, there is one thing that we still need in Redis. So it is important to understand that this solution, so Chang'an solution, is using DNN as a platform. But everything that we actually valuable did there, it was done with 2.6. So all apps, all content, everything is done in 2.6. And 2.6 is working perfectly with Redis from the day one. Since it has very sophisticated caching strategy within 2.6. And when it needs to synchronize memory between the nodes for different 2.6 apps, it is not trying to send all that memory to other nodes, so it could be read from there. It is just using timestamps as a trigger to tell other node, okay, you do not have the latest information, please bring it from SQL. So there is some very small amount of information that is used by that is sending to Redis storage, and that is reading by Redis storage when some happens that when you need to invalidate some cache and things like that, and all that happens so fast and without any issues. So all the time, very complicated things that we did with 2.6 were working perfectly in Redis, even with that slower thing in cloud. While, yes, something that you expect that works because it is part of DNN infrastructure, we had issues there. And when we are using raising 2.6 caching, So actually, it is a patron feature of too sexy. So you need to enable it. When you enable it, it is using DNN caching provider downstream and all caching infrastructure without issues. But yeah, if you change DNN caching provider in a way to really not store anything, in that actually will kill also too sexy, because it needs that small amount information with timestamps to be cached. So that was it was something that we need to also to adapt for. Moment. Okay, so here you can actually see on this diagram here on the right side are the features of the too sexy, and so you can enable Webfarm support. It has also the second debug switch, so you can get more information from the too sexy logs to track what's really going on, but you actually things are working without issues, so it wasn't necessary to do. Okay, this is something that I already mentioned. So this check 404 script, and at some point in time when we were trying to find what's really going on, we schedule it on a server periodically to find pages that were returning 404, and when they find that 404, then if it is according to some pattern that we expect, it will clear cache on that node. So we created one small endpoint within DNN to do it. That is not optimal, since when you do the clear cache on DNN, it is a lot of should happen to rebuild the cache of DNN to continue working on. But it is better than restarting DNN, much better than restarting DNN, but still a hard thing. And here we have one example when this gone wrong. On left side, you can see CPU of one node, and this was very nasty situation. We got 404, and then that script after some time recycled that node memory, so that node was reading everything from SQL again. But that again caused special conditions that again triggered 404 on some other page, and again recycle happens. And we had a situation that over a few hours we had constantly 404 recycles on that nodes, and that is not something that is good to see. On the right side is a graph that is showing the number of requests on that node, and you see those spikes. So this is, I believe, 1 day in total, and that script was running probably every half hour and trying to go through all pages. And those spikes are actually a result of that script. And because of that, it is something that it is not good to see, because you do not have right information what is real traffic on your side, because you have so many requests that was caused on that script at that moment. So if you edit too much, you're actually doing worse, of course. So with some tweaking in DNN and that huge change that we did in DNN-Redis caching provider, we actually fixed that 404 issue. And that was a good thing. But that was not the only issue related to DNN and web farms. Other issue that we had happens in a situation when we have marketing campaigns on some markets. And those campaigns happen almost every day, sometimes on 1-2 markets, sometimes on more. Depends. It is not something that is under our control because each market is doing that by themselves. And a result of those campaigns is actually that you have a huge amount of requests to some site within DNN in a very small time period. So in 10 minutes, you can get traffic that is, I don't know, 100 times bigger than usual. And in those situations, DNN and .NET Framework actually is not behaving like you are expecting. What we saw is that we have a big amount of requests, but then every request was executed slower and slower. It took more time to be executed. And those requests were queuing on server and building, but they were not processing. And in the same time, CPU on that server was doing nothing. And it was, okay, what's wrong here? What? You expect if you have many requests that CPU will go to 100%, and then you cannot process a request anymore because there is no CPU, for instance, or some other resource. And in this case, it is some other resource, because .NET Framework have thread pools for worker processes that were processing those requests. And by default, it has only 2 threads per CPU core that are waiting. And if you get more requests in a small amount of time, it will happen that actually all those requests will be not processed since there is not enough threads for those. And CPU will still do nothing. Because .NET Framework by default have some very conservative strategy of increasing number of threads on that type of load. It will increase it after some time, like in 30 minutes, you will get a number of threads that you are expecting to have on first minute. And that was the issue for us, of course, or for those marketing campaigns, because people will go to site and see nothing because it was waiting to load. So it is common issue with .NET Framework. We know about that issue for a long time. Since we had one client, it's called Gamer's Book. It was a gamer's site where they were giving away some keys for games, but you need to go to Face and then Instagram and Twitter and do something. And when they had marketing campaigns, we will get like 1 million requests in 10 minutes on Freenode website. That they can actually process those, but because of this issue, it was stopped. So what to do? There are some keys in machine config that you can change and decide that .NET will not start with 2 threads by default, but with some other number. And I believe, So, it is thread pool min workers, threads per CPU, and there is also other one min IO thread pools per CPU. So it is there are two places, and you can put some other number there, according to your situation. But if you put it, then it will affect every website on that machine, of course. And that is not optimal for every case, because, for instance, if you put it on development machine when you have 100 of websites, when you restart machine, every web will try to build, I don't know, 50 threads in a pool that will do nothing. And it will eat all your resources, and your machine will not work as expected. So usually that is okay because you have one Windows machine with one IIS that is handling one DNN site, and you are good to go. You change those machine configs, and you are in better position. In this case, we did, so machine config is one way. Another way is actually to do it in C# when that app is starting. So we actually did that. We introduced two new keys in DNN web config, and that DNN instance will have different settings comparing to everything else. And it is something also that we will probably push to DNN community, so in DNN 10 or 11 to be available, because we see it useful. Important thing with this is actually that you shouldn't increase this number to some big amount, because it is trade-off. It is really, really huge trade-off, and you really need to understand what's going on. So that is the reason why it is hard to change those values, because for 99% of normal sites, it is not necessary to do it. But there are some edge cases like this when you need to do it, and then you need to do it properly. You need to really tweak that number to your specific situation, depending on the amount of the users that you are expecting that need to be processed by that node, and the configuration that you have, depending number of CPUs, how fast they are, how many memory there is, what is with those requests, and so on, to find the right balance to do it. So you can do it, but you need to take care of it. So that was second important thing. And other are actually usual stuff. For instance, DNN dependency handler that was bundling JavaScript and CSS and everything else is actually a thing that was very useful with HTTP 1. With HTTP 2, actually, is not that useful. So when you have infrastructure that is using HTTP 2, you actually prefer to have many small files, every standalone, because HTTP 2 will actually will handle communication between browser and server in a much more optimal way, in better cache and everything. And with HTTP 3, it is even much better. So we actually, after measure and everything, we disable all those optimizations, since our infrastructure was supporting HTTP 2 and 3, and we get much better indexes and everything related to that. And last thing, and I believe everyone had those issues actually. You need to watch what happens with on web application framework. A firewall, because yes, of course there are someone can try to hack your site and so on. But what is also possible, AI is probably to do some funny things with your site that could cause the performance issue and so on. So you also need to handle those in a special way. Daniel talked a lot about those, did a lot to fix it. Just try to follow what he's suggesting. It is the right thing to do. It will help you a lot. So That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So, at the end, yeah, here you have few points to take care of when you have web farms. I will not repeat anymore. I took you more time than I planned. So, questions.
So the question is, so finally, like, so you use Redis only for this, to use sticky sessions to redirect to the right node and for nothing more, not for caching. Like finally, like just a summary.
So sticky sessions on load balancer were required for DNN to work. So it is first thing that you need to do when you set up Webfarm and put load balancer in front of it, or it will not work, because every user will create in session memory some information that lives only on that node, and that is not shared at all by DNN-Redis caching provider, since it is part of ASP.NET or IaaS infrastructure, not something that you are under control of.
I mean, yeah. So like, I mean that, like, finally, so you just use it like only for sticky sessions, right? No. So but you said that you removed from caching, like.
Sorry. So we are using sticky sessions because we need to use that, and that's okay. What we removed, we are using DNN-Redis caching provider, but we are not storing anything there except two sexy information. That is only information that we are really storing in DNN cache in Redis storage. And but we are using Redis as a communication vehicle for cache invalidation between nodes, and that is important thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
You have one more question?
Of course, yes.
Of course. You were talking about putting administration on node 2, so leads to traffic there. So is there also something in place for, like, on the connection string, SQL Server, DB owner, having on the administration node more rights than the public has on the other nodes, and also including different web application firewall rules?
Yes, all that. Yes. Yes. Ideal is if you contain a whole administration behind some security, so that is not open to everyone. But it is not always possible. Here we have many markets and users that could be anywhere, so it was not easy to do. What we actually, so for those, we create a separate host names. So it is administration something, and they are all using those names to administration. And when so we can track logging and everything there, and because they are doing serious stuff there. They can edit, they can delete, and so on. So it is very important to track what's going on there. In the same time, on a public host names, it is not possible to log in as administrator. So you need to find a way to, kill those, and it is easy to kill it. So if you log, so when you're tracking everything, if you see that from public part something is trying to administrate something, then okay, that is a red light that something is not okay.
So basically in the web application firewall, you already, because you use different host names, you can lead them to node 2 instead of leading it to the...
Yes, and in web application firewall, for public names, you forbid to cookies for authentication and a few important things that are necessary for ASP.NET that will just not go through it, and so that they are not capable to do administration anymore. Yeah. And for administrator, of course, if you can limit those by IP address of clients or something, it's even better.
Yeah, but that's how we did it in the past as well.
Yeah.
If you have different nodes, you have a specific node for
Yeah.
administration.
Or use two-form authentication and things like that. So there are a lot of things that you probably need to do. Thank you. Okay, thank you, people.